Hello, and you're very welcome to the National Film School studios here at the Institute of Art, Design and Technology here in Dunleera. My name is Ronan O'Murla and I'm one of the heads of faculty here at IADT. We are talking about portfolios, and with me are 4 students to talk about their experiences of the portfolio process. They will have some tips and advice on how they went about their portfolios. And I'm delighted to welcome to studio Eve Feehan, second year art, Saoirse Carey, fourth year makeup design, DSS, Zach Drew, second year animation, and Kasper Jaroszynski, first year interaction and UX design. Hopefully, Kasper, I said that properly. Listen, very welcome to all 4 of you here to the studio. Thanks a million for making the time for us. On a scale of 1 to 10, how awful was the portfolio process, do you think?
Oh my God. Honestly,
I'll start with you, Eve.
yeah, it wasn't that bad, honestly. It's very daunting going into, say, an art design course from secondary school. And especially when you're trying, explain to your parents and do the whole portfolio on top of it. What really brought comfort to me was, of course, going to the open day and talking to the lecturers. But then, of course, I also stalked current students on Instagram and messaged them for advice and information. But there's loads of information on the website, so I studied that mercilessly.
And did you put much time into it in terms of developing the portfolio? And was it something you were thinking about from a long way out?
I decided in my 6th year, but I think it was too late in my own mind. So I finished my Leaving Cert and I did a PLC in Blackrock. I did theatrical makeup to make sure the course was really for me. And while doing that, I worked on my portfolio. So it wasn't necessarily a portfolio course, but a lot of the ideas that I was exploring in the portfolio, I instantly brought in with my project work. So it kind of worked in both ways for me.
Eve, you are in second year art now,
Yeah.
but you tried IT for a while. What made you change?
Yeah, basically I found it a bit boring. So I kind of wanted to do something that was more creative. I wasn't really sure exactly what I wanted to go into, if it was kind of more film, art, photography. And then I just knew I kind of enjoyed it, so I was like, why not? I'll just go for it. Told my parents I was set on it, even though I wasn't sure. I was just like, I like art. But the portfolio course for me, I was debating whether to just sit down and do it myself for a year or do a PLC course. And I did a PLC course, which I'm delighted I decided to do because I didn't have a clue what to put into the portfolio, but they were doing it with years, the teachers that we had, and they were brilliant. So basically everything they told us to put into it. So we did print, painting, ceramics. So I actually learned a lot through that. And yeah, that's kind of how I formed the portfolio, because I just didn't have a clue myself what to put into it.
So you really felt that taking that extra bit of time helped
Yeah.
you?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, because I just was kind of a bit baffled. I was like, I would have just thought it was all finished pieces, whereas they were telling us that you kind of have to have pages where it's not completely finished pieces, just kind of shows if you pick one object and do completely loads of studies of it, instead of just doing one finished piece, it actually kind of shows that you're exploring more things. So
Brilliant.
yeah.
Zach, you're in animation, second year now.
Yeah.
Animation's tough to get into. How did you tackle the whole portfolio thing?
I tackled it very early on. I was quite lucky to come across the course very early. My mum brought me in. It was around 3rd year, and it was an open day. It was very casual. I sort of trickled around, checked out the courses. I kind of liked art at the time, and I was quite fond of drawing, doodling. I was a bit of a dosser in school, but I knew I liked art. And so then I came in, I looked around, I had a look at DSS. I was like, wow, this is amazing. I had a look at all the other courses. 3D model making caught my eye too, but as soon as I came into animation, I was kind of hooked from there. And then in 3rd year, I got started on my portfolio in 4th year, and I kind of picked up the basics. I started a sketchbook. It took me the whole year to finish, and it was really, really long. But I came in a bunch to all the open days, and I came into the taster days. And I harassed students who were in the college too already doing the course about tips and tricks and stuff. And came to 6th year, I've hunkered down on my Leaving Cert, and I knew I had a decent portfolio put behind me through 4th and 5th year. And yeah, I got very lucky and I got in.
And would you say this, having that longer run at it was important in your head? In terms of, that you were thinking about it for a long time and working on work for a long time?
I think definitely it certainly helped. I think I had a foot in the door, kind of. It also helped to get used to knowing the people and being comfortable. I came in on some days off in school or something, and I'd come in with work and constantly look for feedback and just harassed the lecturers. And they were awfully sick of me when they saw me the first day in first year. Like,
Not
oh,
him again.
it's him. But I just stuck with it, and I knew I really wanted it. And my mum was a bit worried when I put it down as the only thing on my CAO. It was just a blank sheet with just animation at the top. And I had high expectations. Everyone had high expectations. Everybody told me, oh, you're going to get in, you're going to get in. But I never let that get to my head. I constantly went, no, it's not good enough. No, it's not good enough. No, it's not good enough. And I just kept working on it until like literally 2 hours before we had to submit the portfolios. I was putting stuff in and changing stuff around. And yeah, my experience with the portfolio, I went in and looked for feedback, and I was expecting to be like praised and all my work would be, they were like, wow, you're amazing. And they were like, you're okay. You might get in, but best of luck with your results. And I went outside and cried for 10 minutes.
Aww.
And my mum bought me McDonald's. And that made my day. And then I got full marks on my portfolio, so it wasn't the end of the world. And
Obviously tempering expectations.
Yeah.
Casper, I'm going to turn to you. You're in first year interaction and user experience design. So you're not only new to IDT, but new to a new program, which is in the first year.
That's true, yeah.
And also you would have done the digital portfolio. First of all, can you talk to us a little bit about just your own sort of process of getting the portfolio ready?
Yeah, so, just because we were a new course, I didn't really have any reference from previous years of what to do. But I kind of figured the best way to do the whole portfolio would be like, okay, how do I show people at IADT that I'm a designer at heart, that I work in a certain way? So I figured I'd show them a few of different processes. So like, I was really interested in photography, let's say, beforehand. And I did some science courses and stuff like that, did a few projects here and there. So I figured, what if I just throw that all together, but show them my design process along the way? So like, let's say, putting up photography exhibitions meant that, like, let's say I'd pick up a team, go with a clear mind, explore my options with the camera, go back home, print out pictures on a small format, kind of select the best ones, and then put them up, print them out, frame them, put them out for exhibition. So, even that kind of way of critically reflecting on your work was kind of something valuable to the portfolio. And again, I wasn't even applying for photography, but I was showing them I work in that way, And then I did a few pre-designs. I did a small-scale research project in my school. So I was not necessarily harassing my lecturers, but I was going after students in the morning. I was like, hey, can we talk about like this? And had like little interviews done. And, and then based on that, I made like a little prototype. So, I also managed to get full marks in the portfolio, but I think it's mainly because I threw a mixture of things into it. So it wasn't just like, oh, this is my finished piece. Look how great I can like make an interface,
But you seem to have been thinking as well a lot about the work and how you were doing the work, and
yeah.
You put a lot of thought into what you were putting into the portfolio, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, so exactly. It was kind of having a structure to it, I think helps like from the start. So, I already knew I wanted the portfolio to be divided into chapters and have like, really clear divisions and be like, this is how I started, where it all like kind of went from there. And this is where I'm hoping to head. So that was the user research piece that I did, So it doesn't necessarily have to be college level. Like obviously nobody expects you to turn on college work, but just try your best and kind of think beyond your secondary school setting, So like you can throw in a few bits if you do art, but like it shouldn't be your main thing in the portfolio for sure. Yeah.
I want to come back to, because I know you did the project day as well, but I want to come back to Saoirse and just talk a little bit about, that sort of choice of what you put in and stuff like that. And how do you, it's a kind of a complicated question because a lot of people struggle with the idea, well, what do I put in? And how do I best reflect myself? Would you have any advice on that?
I definitely got that wrong in my portfolio.
Really? Right.
So I'm a character makeup design student, and of course makeup is in the name, but our degree isn't makeup. So the first thing that was said to us when I went to the open day and I asked about portfolio, we were told, this isn't a makeup portfolio. And I was like, oh, okay, which really intrigued me, of course, because I'd been doing a makeup PLC at the time and I'd found it really boring. So what I kind of learned was the input of your portfolio, as Casper was saying, is to show yourself as a designer, your thought process, and to show your personality and your style. your interests, what you think about things, and how you think about things, your methodology, and also showing that you're open to experimentation. Like, no one is expecting you to be of a college level or college standard, but to show openness to learning and potential. I put in quite a lot of drawings, life drawings, observational drawings, and I ended up putting in makeup when it worked with my overall design team, and it was like kind of a final output to a design idea. So I had a mixture, but I don't think I put in as enough design as I really could have, which means more kind of research, notebooks, sketches, and exploration, which I think I didn't get full marks in my portfolio, but I feel that probably would have pushed it a lot further. So yeah.
And Eve, for you, I mean, there's an element of as well, isn't there, in sort of like telling the story of yourself, I suppose. Did you find that in doing the portfolio?
Yeah, I kind of discovered things about myself that I just wouldn't have really known before when it came to, like, we did graphic design, and, you know, I kind of thought from previously studying IT, I don't want to go near a computer ever again because it's not for me. But then I can kind of tie the two of them together and kind of do things that are creative and artistic and still kind of use from my other course what I learned as well. And even painting, I discovered I just really love it, and I'd kind of just push that to the side for a few years, and then when you kind of give yourself the time to do it full time for the year to get the course together, I just found the year to be really fun, and I just really loved kind of...
Had you done art in school?
I had, yeah, but I'd never really thought of doing it as a career. It was never really mentioned as a career. It was kind of like they just never really talked about it really, and then I was like, oh, I might do that kind of near the end of the year, but I didn't know there was a deadline come March, so I just never went into it. But I'm happy I kind of changed now.
Eve's experience, Zach, is like there was a couple of years before she came in and had another path, but you came straight from the leaving.
Yeah.
Do you think, was that harder or easier? I mean, you had to focus on the leaving for that year, though, didn't you?
I think there's a huge emphasis on portfolios for animation, and there's an awfully high leaving cert points too to go with it. So the two combined is your overall points, and to get in, the points sort of rocket up. When you tell people the points, they're like, that's not right, but you have to include the portfolio. And portfolios are really difficult to get full marks. So if lots of people do PLCs, about half the year is PLCs at the moment for my year. As of first years now, I've spoken to a mixed bunch of them, and it seems there's an even amount of PLC students and just straight from leaving cert students. They get a mix of them. But there's a lot of PLCs trying to get in. I do regret not doing one. People out there who don't like the idea of doing a PLC and they don't feel like they feel like they didn't get in means they're not good enough. I really disagree with that. I honestly wish I did one. It's another year of experience on top, and you come out with a year ahead of everyone else nearly. And
I suppose the message is there's no real hurry, really.
There's no real hurry. No, 100%, definitely. I honestly think, however you get in, some people, they take 3 attempts to get in. 2 attempts. I got in my leaving cert, which was very lucky. But I would have been happy to do a PLC. I'd signed up for PLCs. I was very open to the idea, and I think people should be open to the idea of them.
Cool. Casper, you had also the experience of doing the project day. Can you talk us through a little bit about that and how that went for you, and how did you feel about that as a process?
Sure. So I was halfway through my portfolio, actually, but then, the creative doubt always kicks in. I was like, what if it's not good enough? And I really want this course. So just because there was an option to do both the portfolio and project day, I was like, it's just doubling my chances of getting in. So I figured I'd do that. And, project day is such a less daunting experience because the brief is usually smaller, and there is a brief, first of all. Our portfolio was so broad just because we didn't know what to submit. The project day was kind of more guided. And, then having a day on campus, meeting your lecturers, meeting your potential future classmates, that was a great experience and really reassured me that this is the choice that I'm committed to and that I want to do. Another thing was that, we tried out different things on the day as well. So it was really not only great fun, but again, kind of reassuring that, it's the right fit. And it definitely took off the pressure of my portfolio then. When I was finishing it off, I was like, okay, I have my, let's say, 500 points from my project day locked. So I can kind of, take my time with the portfolio now and don't stress about it too much. So I think it actually, the project day aided the portfolio, and then the portfolio aided the project day in a way,
Cool. That's great. I'd go for one last question. I suppose, Eve, and well, even Saoirse, I'll start with you. Tell me about, I suppose, ultimately, what was the top piece of advice that you'd give to people who are thinking about applying for any program, for any portfolio program?
Well, first of all, just to go for it. I know I say all of us in the room have experienced even pushback from parents of doing a creative degree because you can get a job in that. You get a job being a character makeup designer. Like, I didn't know. I think the biggest step design, my biggest piece of advice is almost like what Zach was saying, is not rush it. I did a PLC and I gained so much experience, even just introspection. I thought I wanted to be a makeup artist, and I very quickly discovered I actually want to be a designer, I want to be an artist, I want to be a creator, and IADT just facilitates that for me. And in terms of the portfolio, if you need help, ask for help. IADT has so much information up on the website. So many students have their degree in their Instagram bio. They're completely there to be found and be talked to. So reach out, we don't bite, really.
And Eve, what about you? What would your advice be?
I would say even if you think you don't have enough work, definitely still apply and go for it. And even if you don't get in, definitely do a PLC or something, because you learn so much in the PLC. Like, I didn't realise I would learn as much as I did when I did it. And yeah, I think go for it anyway, even if you're afraid to.
Zach, what about you? What's your advice?
I completely agree with going for it 100%. Even if you feel like your work's not up to the par that you think set, or if you come in on the open day and you're intimidated by the work that's set out in front of you, never feel like you shouldn't put it in, because you'll get feedback, and you should definitely take constructive criticism when you're applying for something like that. And if you don't get in, go for PLC. It's the best thing you could do. Yeah.
And Casper, I'll finish with you. I mean, just that idea of going for it. I mean, it is daunting for people. People do. It's a job of work. Like, there's no getting away from that. But I suppose you need to be. It's that commitment really that will ultimately stand you in good stead.
Yeah, definitely. So, like, before you start and you know the deadline already, you're like, oh, I have to have this massive piece done by like February or something. But then the minute you get stuck in, get your head low and just work away one day at a time, it becomes less and less of a daunting task, because you actually figure out, okay, look, I'm like halfway done, and it's only, let's say, Christmas time. I still have like 2 months. So it's really, the earlier you start, the better. But also, don't be afraid to explore at the start, because that way you get more ideas in, and you can actually curate your portfolio to be a better set of content. But yeah, the main thing is just don't overthink it. Start it straight away.
Cool. Casper, thank you so much. And Zach, Saoirse, Eve, thank you so much for all your time and your enthusiasm, and really just the work that you've displayed. I'm really grateful for your time here today as well, in particular, and the time you've given us in terms of the portfolios. That's us for now. My thanks very much to my guests. Remember that the CAO deadline is February the 1st for all portfolio programmes, and the portfolio deadline here in IDT is March 18th. Best of luck to you all. Slán agus gurb míle maithagah as ucht bheith fechid.